Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. Hello again. Welcome back to Still with Purpose. And today we're going to be talking about the question, do you avoid accountability and why? Amanda, what is our quote?
Okay. True accountability demands unwavering honesty. So what do we mean about that? Basically, we're asking, are you truly accountable for your life? Do you have accountability set up around the things that you actually truly deserve and desire? I can guarantee that if you do not have accountability set up around it or goals set up around your true desires, it probably won't happen. I have been goal setting for almost 20 years. All the goals I haven't gotten yet is because I was not willing to be honest about the goal and set up accountability around it. And every goal that I have achieved, I've had massive accountability around it. So I truly believe no change actually really happens unless you set it up and have an honest conversation with one person at least about what you truly want to create in your life. And you have to set accountability up around it or else it's not going to happen. So your intention is everything. If your intention is to reach that goal, you will do whatever it takes. You'll find all the resources and you will make that goal happen. So that goes back to you truly don't want it if you haven't set up an intention and accountability around it, which is where the honesty comes in. You say you want this, but you're not willing to be held accountable to create it for yourself. So what's going on there? Why aren't you willing to set up accountability around what you truly want?
Yeah. And I think the honesty piece, you say you want it and you keep telling yourself that. But when you honestly look at how you're behaving around it and maybe not staying accountable to yourself or to anybody else or to God, then we talked about it in our last episode with the delusion that, yeah, I'm still going after that, but it's not honest.
There's a quote that says, results are often harsh, but always fair. So if you don't have the results for the thing you quote unquote truly want, you haven't set up accountability around it. So you have no results and therefore you don't truly want it. Now, this is interesting because when we were going for the land dream, way back when, I think 2008, it took about 7 years for us to actually get it all together, acquire the land and move on the land. In those 7 years, I was hanging out with people that are fully embracing that quote based on results you don't want it that bad. And I actually was told that several times. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I do want it that bad. But this goal is a God goal. And it's going to take a lot of people to accomplish this goal. So maybe my results aren't there yet, but my intention might take 7 years. And that quote drove me nuts because I was like, I guess it isn't my full intention because I'm not making it happen. But when you're including God in the picture, you also have to take in the aspect of you're really trying to run down his path and have him lead you, not you running down a path by yourself and being self-sufficient and independent. You're actually asking for a community to come together, get the vision of what you're trying to create, and also get the results. But a lot of things don't go in the time frame that you want them to, ever, in my experience with God.
What's striking me about the quote, though, too, is that your results, if you're working with more than just yourself, it becomes our results. And it's not just on you anymore, but you are accountable to each other to achieve a greater goal. The you or the I or the individual nature of that feels against what we're saying, and that God doesn't always want us to just be self-sufficient and not rely on others.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the crazy part, it's all about the journey. It's really not about the goal. right? It's about the journey of character building and the faith walk of what it took to acquire that land. We finally acquired it in 2015, and it took a lot of people to make that happen. And the character qualities that it etched out and chiseled down to were hard. It was very tough personal growth and waiting and combating the opinions of others and what they thought and their fears. But eventually we acquired the land and started the dream. And I was like, I guess it was my full intention, because based on results, I'm now standing on this piece of land and ready to build my dream. So all of that to say, I had massive accountability around this goal. We set goals. At the time, my husband was involved, and he was in the same goal setting seminar I was, and he set a goal to have a contract on a piece of land by this time frame. And now that's pretty scary. You could be getting into a situation where it wasn't a good fit just to reach the goal. You got to set goals smart. You can't put yourself in such a box that you're actually making a poor decision just to reach the goal. And I think we looked at 5 pieces of land past that one that he set a goal to close on. We were almost in a contract so that he could reach his goal. So there's a piece of that where you have to go, okay, wait, I'm committed to finishing this goal. I'm committed to achieving this. And I think that I've put myself in a situation, the way I've stated or set it up, that it's probably not going to serve me well if I'm on the wrong piece of land.
Well, and 2, I think that any goal we set up, at least for myself, the last several years, I may feel like it's the right goal, but it's got to be according to God's plan and God's will. Yeah. And if it wasn't that piece of land God wanted you to have, it doesn't matter the timing that the goal was set with. God's not abiding by those goals.
Absolutely. He, I feel, is never abiding by our time frame.
No.
So it's kind of a yes, set goals, yes, set accountability, and dang, you're going to get way further than you thought without having set the goal, right? Yeah. So at least I'm making steps forward. So there's such a pendulum swing. Like, I have to get this goal, and I'm going to bulldoze everyone in my whole life to get the goal. And I think my mom said it well. If we all hate each other at the end of this, we totally miss the point. And that was tough, because it was a very challenging thing, because now I'm on the whole other side of the goal. Got the goal, also watched it completely explode and die. So it's like, okay, but what did I learn from that? I set a humongous goal, and I saw a complete miracle of God for that to come to fruition. So my faith was so built. That's another piece. If you're not setting goals and setting up accountability around it, mostly it's your character that you're looking for. You're setting goals to be the healthiest you, be the best you. And the bigger ones are with God and other people. But ultimately, it's about the journey. It has nothing probably really to do about the goal, period. Because just setting a physical goal will build your character. You'll find out exactly who you are and aren't, and how lazy you are, and all the qualities that you actually find really unattractive come out. And I'm just like, oh, I guess I really want to work on that, because I don't want to come across as that human. And that's not the goal. The goal is to be as healthy as I can, so I can keep living God's will for my life. And then shifting gears a little bit, going into relationships, if I don't set up a goal and have accountability around it, then I am actually doing what my flesh wants to do. This is where, like, even pastors get in trouble, even any leadership position. Any leadership position that I've watched that doesn't have accountability gets taken out by their strongest vice.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially leaders need to know that there are other people that are holding them accountable. And I think we're all capable of doing terrible things when we're not closely walking with God. And so everyone could be one slip away. If they're not staying in devotion with the Lord, then any type of leader could fall. And if they're not being held accountable by other people, then they're just doing whatever they want.
Yeah, I've watched many leaders fall because they didn't have accountability, and it's so heart-wrenching. And I've been, close in with them, but at some point, I mean, I've had leaders tell me, I don't want your feedback or accountability around this subject. Like, what? I'm not even asking to be your accountability partner. I'm actually wanting to give you feedback so that you understand how you're coming across. And I don't go out of my way. I don't give feedback to hardly anyone unless they ask for it. But if I see one of my leaders really on the struggle bus with their followers, I want to protect the followers and the sheep. If I don't have an opening to hold you accountable or bring this in front of you to look at and possibly change or create accountability around, then you're going to take a huge big fall all by yourself because you have told everyone that you're not wanting accountability around that. If you're in any kind of leadership position, you should have accountability set up around your weakest personality or your weakest sin or whatever your weaknesses are. You must set up accountability around that. One, for yourself, but also to protect the people that you're leading. That's a bottom line.
So talk a little bit, if you would, because we mentioned it before, an accountability partner. In your experience, what does that look like?
I personally like to pick someone, one person at this point, because I've set goals for so long. I mean, we used to do group setting and like 10 people knew what my goals were or whatever. And I still am in groups where I could list my goals, but none of them hold me accountable. If it's my true intention, then I think most people trust that I'm going to complete the goal at this point because I've just done it for so long. But true accountability for me is picking one person that knows my goal. You know, I set up a SMART goal and I report back to them. I've heard people be like, well, my accountability partner didn't reach out to me. And it's like,
yeah.
No, that's not how it goes. You reach out, you say, I'm going to have this complete by this time, and this is the actions I'm going to take, and this is where I want to shift, and this is the outcome I want, and I will check back in with you when I'm complete with it. I mean, I have an accountability partner right now that knows all my goals. I do 90-day circuit, so I break down the year into 4 different 90-day runs, and I break that huge goal down into 4 chunks, and then seasonally, like physically, I set up a hiking, biking goal or a snowboarding goal, but it's all around my true goal, which is to keep my body moving to where I can do any excursion when I'm traveling or keep up with my boys snowboarding and not die is the goal. Instead of setting up a goal of I need a hot body, that's not motivating to me at all. But it is motivating for me to create memories with my kids and be able to do the same things they're doing and be around them. So that was a huge shift for me to realize the goal of looking good in clothes. Yeah, that feels great, but that's not motivating enough for me to do the goal. But yeah, I have one person right now that knows what my year goals are and what my 90-day runs are. So I check in with them weekly and we just kind of go over where we're at, but she holds me highly capable of completing the goal.
Yeah, I have friends that will mention like, oh, I'm working on this or that, but a true accountability partner is not coming to mind for me. So that probably means I have not done a good job in that area.
Well, maybe you just have a different definition of what accountability is, because doing this podcast is accountability.
Yeah.
You've set yourself up for major accountability.
No, that's true.
Because now we have accountability to each other to not put crap content out there and to do so much inner work and work on the things that affect our energy so that we can come clean on these podcasts instead of bring all of our baggage. We all still have stuff we're constantly working on, but I'm not going to come on and be angry. Like we've actually had days where we haven't recorded, even though we set it to be a record day, because we're highly accountable that we're not going to bring crap energy onto our podcasts.
But also, I think it's important what you said a minute ago about the goal has got to be motivating enough for you to want to achieve it. So it's hard for me to have this accountability with this podcast because I'm not used to being this vulnerable, but it was worth it to me because my ultimate goal was I want to know what talents and gifts God gave me that he wants me to apply. And I want to know how he wants me to apply them to serve his plan and according to his will. And I was very, very set on seeking his will and guidance and following through with what I felt like he was calling me to do. And so the accountability that we experience now or that we have signed up for is totally worth it because I feel like I'm achieving that goal. And that goal was motivating enough for me to keep going and to sign up for that accountability. So it does matter what the end goal is.
So based on results, your intention was clear that that's what you wanted to achieve because you just set up high accountability on your life to be the best you that you can be in order to use your gifts in this podcast.
Yeah.
That's epic. How many people do that? Not very many people do that.
Well, and I think if you had told me 5 years ago, here's what you're going to be doing in 5 years, I would have told you that you're nuts. You go through all these experiences that then lead you, and it's God, no doubt about it. God is leading, has led me to this point. And I think if we'll all just listen and let him take the reins, eventually, if we are willing to follow and submit, we will all be in the position that we're supposed to be in, probably with a lot of accountability to others in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I love that you said if I asked you 5 years ago, because really when we met, we talked about this in the first episode that we met when that whole dream completely exploded. And so did my marriage. So that was what, 6, 7 years ago? I would have said no to this. Not because I don't have the gift and the calling, but I was in so much pain and grieving that I wasn't able to come clean and come from a healed place on any of this subject matter. Man, I couldn't even talk about the ranch without bawling my eyes out. So I know how far I've come, and it's because I've set up accountability the whole time. So side note, if you're in leadership and you find that your whole family's out of order, everything is blowing up in your life, and you don't have accountability to stay on the right path, you really will damage a lot of people. And I was at the point where I was headed to the last event I was going to do. They didn't know that was my last event, but I knew that I was so messed up and emotional and in my flesh that I was not going to be a great leader to keep presenting that material in a clean fashion. It was going to be so tainted with my pain and grieving. So if you're in leadership, sometimes you got to take yourself out for a bit.
That, I think, speaks to the quote in that accountability demands honesty. And sometimes we don't want to be honest because what it might mean, like you said, I've got to take myself out of this situation. I can't achieve this goal that I wanted to. It doesn't make sense anymore. And that's devastating for whatever reason. Sometimes the reality and God's plan doesn't match up with ours, and we still have to be honest about it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen so many pastors not have accountability, make some really big mistakes that affect a lot of people, and not leave, not pull themselves from the position. They had to be fired or removed from the position because they weren't willing to be honest enough to say, okay, I really am a sinner in this area and I've messed up. Whatever it is, we all have these scenarios in our life. We're all hypocritical. We talked about that. But if he would have had, or she would have had accountability from the beginning, then it would have been like, how are you doing in this area in a loving way? Oh, I'm actually really struggling. Okay, well, let's pray for you. That's the community you have to have around your life in order to keep going towards growth. Otherwise, your decay might be an open forum on the news because you refuse to be honest with yourself around your hangups and sins or your faults or void filling or whatever your thing is. And now it's taking you out of the job and the dream you've gone for, the calling that you were probably called for. But now, because of lack of accountability, you have lost it. And I've seen a lot of pastors in general, because I know this is a hot subject in the world, they don't have a plan B. So to be taken out of their calling per se, because they weren't willing to be accountable is just such a loss.
You see that in any industry. I know I've seen leaders let go for one reason or another, and I think get so used to lifestyle or the power position that the threat of those things going away. So like you're saying, they don't remove themselves and then there's no backup plan. Anyone who's been in an industry for an extended amount of time likely doesn't have experience in any other industry. And what are they going to do? So that threat of taking away their livelihood and not being able to replace it trumps that honesty.
So our fear is a self-fulfilling prophecy because we end up losing in the end, right? Because we refuse to be held accountable and honest.
Yeah. And you mentioned self-sufficiency. I've struggled with that in my life because I think a lot of the things that I've achieved, it's because of like grit and determination. Now, don't get me wrong. I've certainly had mentors and people along the way that have helped me accomplish those achievements. But if I'm faced with a goal, my fleshly instinct is to say, oh, how can I do that myself? But I think God wants us to come together. And we've talked about it before. We're stronger together. And so to fight that feeling of I'm going to be independent and do it myself. And I think that's why, honestly, a church family is important. Over the last several years, I've really come to value the church family that I belong to, just in the ups and downs, and just knowing that you don't have to do this life alone. And I don't think that's really what God has ever intended. But for myself, that's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I'm an independent person too. It's almost impossible not to be as a single mom. It's pretty much playing the male and female position and keeping humans alive, basically, and providing for them. So I've definitely strained on the independent part. And that's when my accountability checks in with me and says, have you set a goal up around connections with other people? You're self-employed and you sit in your house. Have you set up a goal around connections? So it's all the things. You want to set up a goal around the 4 things: your physical body, your social. I do one around connection with God, my source. And I do set up goals around all of it because it holds me accountable to what I say I truly want to do with my life and who I want to be in my life. Walking through the front door by yourself to a church and sitting alone in a section is not my favorite thing to do. And I'm an extrovert. I can do it. But just that action alone is accountability to hear something that possibly will lovingly convict me in an area that I'm really struggling in. Mm-hmm. And then if I can take a step further and be writing about it, usually on one of my posts, and being like, hey, this is where I'm really struggling. And that's accountability for me to put content out there. And I've been told for years, your stuff really is important. Like, it's always brought a question for me to ponder. And that is because I made the accountability of walking through the door by myself, on a Sunday afternoon. That's accountability. So the real question is, do you really have accountability set up in your life in all areas? And if you don't, why? Why don't you have that accountability? Because you truly can create the life you deserve and desire. But I absolutely am a firm believer you have to have accountability around it.
And ultimate accountability is with God. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have accountability partners and all of that, but I'm just thinking about, I had the goal this year, read the Bible all the way through from beginning to end in this year. And I'm not really accountable for that to anybody else. But at night when I go to bed, I think to myself and to God, oh yeah, I'm kind of falling behind. Let me get on that. So it's just a feeling of really just staying accountable to God for that one. What motivates me is I want to meditate on your word, and I want to hear it again. And I want to hear it, in context of what I have going on in my life right now. So that's the motivation, but it's just staying accountable to God.
Yeah. But the intention is still, the underlying part is that you want to be the best you can be. So you're going to your source of what helps you create that person. And that is high accountability. Because if we're going to the Bible as our accountability, we have enough work for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
So going back, what if you're a person that doesn't even set goals, or you have no desire to set goals? That's something to really look at, because is that a worthiness issue? Do you not believe that you deserve to create an amazing life that you are in love with? That's something to look at.
Or do you feel like you're just not going to achieve it, so why bother?
Which is also self-worth.
Yeah, right? Ties right back to it.
Yeah, so this goes back to who you hang around, you become like. I don't know that I've ever hung around a group of people that hasn't been a goal setter. Like, I can't remember in the last 20 years for sure. But if you skirt being accountable, you miss out on community, you miss out on the best you there is, and the world misses out. Ultimately, the world misses out on what your gifts are and experiencing your gifts, which I think is really sad.
Tragically sad. We've talked about it so many times. We all have such talents and gifts that God gave us. And I think we're the ones that keep them hidden from the world, sadly. And this is just another way to do that by not setting goals goals and achieving them and sharing them with others.
So just to wrap up this conversation, no change happens without accountability. So either set up accountability with God, friends that you admire, just figure out one thing that you can take on with full intention and get some results. And then that will build faith and confidence, which creates you to want more.
On that note, do we want to talk about some reflection exercises?
Yeah, let's talk about some questions for the week.
So number 1, what goals are you not setting up accountability around and why? Secondly, pick one you are willing to take on and set up accountability around it with a partner. And lastly, how will achieving this goal change your life?
And always, we would love, if you want the extra accountability, come onto Facebook and state the goal that you're going for and rock it out, and we'll celebrate with you.
Yeah, to maybe imagine too, what are the positive outcomes that achieving this goal will have in your life? We would also love to share that excitement with you. So hopeful that you will do that. Okay, I think that that's all of our time today. But thank you for the great discussion, Amanda, and thanks to our audience for listening.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at StillWithPurpose.com.